And we are recording.
Fantastic. So good evening and welcome to the November 2nd Design Commission regular hybrid meeting. It is 6:01 on November 2nd and the Design Commission meeting is now in session. I am Anthony Perez, the Design Commission Vice Chair, and tonight's Design Commission meeting is being brought to you by Zoom teleconferencing technology. The Zoom video in this meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel. Planning Manager Ryan Harriman and other staff members are participating in tonight's meeting remotely. Public audience members are listening to the meeting by telephone, using the Zoom teleconferencing application, or joining in person at the Mercer Island Community and Events Center. Welcome to all, and thank you for joining tonight's commission meeting. Commission members, please ensure that your microphones are turned on for the roll call.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Atkinson.
Present.
Commissioner Gamboa.
Present.
Commissioner Ladigan.
Present.
Commissioner McPherson. Commissioner Patano.
Present.
Commissioner Perez.
Here, present.
And Commissioner Czar.
Here.
Thank you.
For this meeting, we will continue to utilize the Zoom platform. I'll do my best to recognize anybody who wants to talk in order of raising their hand. I assume that everybody knows how to do that on the Zoom recording. After being recognized, you may then ask your question. The first item on the agenda is appearances. This is the opportunity for anyone to speak to the commission about any item. However, if you wish to speak to the public hearing for file number DSR 21012, kindly wait until we have a chance to get to that officially on the agenda. It's just going to be a few minutes here on that. Deb, is there anybody signed up for appearances that wishes to address the commission this evening?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next item of agenda. It's a public hearing for file number DSR 21012. You heard Ryan talk about that just earlier. It's a permit type 4, and it's the public hearing to deliberate a request for the Design Commission design approval to renovate an existing convenience store, add 580 square feet of sales area to the convenience store, and replace the fuel canopy and fuel system. The project includes removal and replacement of leaking underground fuel tanks and removal and replacement of contaminated soil. The proposed project has been designated to serve as an independent remedial action under Model Toxics Control Act, the MTCA, and will follow the guidances laid out in the state of Washington's Pollution Liability Insurance Agency's plan, the PLIA. An opinion letter that was dated in April 20th, 2020. Individuals wishing to make public comments on the agenda items may do so by telephone or by using the Zoom teleconferencing application. The Deputy City Clerk will call on you by name or telephone number when it is your turn to speak. The public hearing. Oh, Commissioner McPherson, hello. Do we need to do anything, Deb, in order to recognize?
No, I've noted her attendance for the record.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing is now open, and it is 6:04 on November 2nd. Those wishing to provide public testimony, please speak audibly, state your name for the public record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Deputy City Clerk, is there anyone who signed up for public comment that wishes to address the commission this evening?
No, sir, there is no one on record wishing to speak.
Okay, duly noted. If there is no testimony tonight, then the public portion of this hearing is now closed. The first item on agenda is the election of the chair and the vice chair tonight for the Design Commission. Obviously, we don't have Colin in this mix at this point. May I have a nomination for chair?
I'd like to nominate you, Anthony, if that's a position that you're willing to accept.
Actually, I would like to nominate Suzanne Czar, if that's a position that she would like to accept, assuming that that's within my my purview.
I think Suzanne would be a great choice. I've had a chance to work with Suzanne for many years, both in this forum and before. I would second that for sure.
I think we need to officially ask, but
Well,
I've also worked with Suzanne. I've always been impressed with her her level-headed thinking, understanding of the issues, her ability to research, and then also the way that she can represent without ego the community.
mhm.
Always impressed by that.
So Vice Chair Perez, we have 2 nominations on the floor currently. If you prefer not to be in that nomination, you can certainly request that your name be withdrawn. And then unless there's any other nominations on the floor, we can proceed with a motion and a second to approve Ms. Czar.
I will take my name out of consideration for chair.
And I'd be happy to serve. And
May
thank
I
you for
get
the
a-
kind words.
May I get a motion as a second? Somebody second the motion, please.
I'd second the motion.
So Vice Chair Perez, I'm going to note that the motion was made for you by you nominating Commissioner Czar, and that Commissioner Ladigan is going to second the motion.
Thank you. I believe we have a roll call now. Is that correct?
That's correct. One moment, please, while I catch up in my notes. Okay. Vice Chair Perez,
Aye.
thank you. Commissioner Czar,
Hi.
did I mispronounce that?
No, you got it
Okay.
spot on. Thank you.
Commissioner Grumbois,
Abstain.
Commissioner Ladigan,
Aye.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Patano,
Aye.
and Commissioner McPherson.
Aye.
Thank you.
I think that I asked now for a nomination on the vice chair. If I can ask for nominations on vice chair from the commission, please.
I'd like to nominate current Vice Chair Perez to maintain his role if he would so choose.
And I'm going to ask who made that nomination. I'm sorry, I was looking at my other screen.
It's Commissioner Czar.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, then I guess, again, we need to, Deb, if you could take us down the process, please.
Certainly, we have a nomination on the floor by Czar to nominate Perez. I need a motion and a second to move forward.
Thank you.
I
Can
make
get-
a motion to move forward for Vice Chair Perez to continue to be Vice Chair Perez.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
Was that Atkinson?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think we need to run through a roll call again.
That
Yes,
is
ma'am.
correct. Just one moment, please, while I catch up my typing. And here we go. Commissioner Perez, or Vice Chair Perez in this case.
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Czar,
Aye.
Commissioner Grumbaugh,
Abstain.
Commissioner Ladigan,
Aye.
Commissioner Atkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Patano,
Aye.
and Commissioner McPherson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, if I understand this correctly, we now change over the responsibility of the meeting. Is that correct?
excuse me, I'm sorry, my microphone is off. Yes. Commissioner Czar, in this case, Chair Czar would take over and lead the meeting. I don't believe she has the script, so if you will all hold on just one moment, I can email it to her so that she has it.
Great.
And being new in role, I thank you in advance for your patience as I get up to speed. May not
This
be
is
as,
all a part of the process.
Yeah.
we'll try a graceful transition because Vice Chair Perez is a tough act to follow.
Okay, Madam Chair, I have forwarded the script to you for tonight's meeting at your city email address.
Deb, there was a minor correction that was noted earlier. Is that updated in the script?
No, it was not, but if you want to go ahead and update her, it's a Scrivener error on my part, using an old script. Do you want me to, I believe I
Thank
still
you.
have.
I received the original script. I'm just loading it now.
Okay, there's a mention in there of a different meeting. My apologies. Vice Chair Perez, I'm not immediately finding my, oh, here it is. Okay. So there was a mention in it of DSR 20-001 Jinhua. That is not a part of tonight's meeting. That was from a previous script, and I apologize for that error.
No worries. I'm going to pick up on the review and approval of the minutes. Am I in the right location?
You are indeed.
Great. Let me just shuffle my screens around.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
It's okay. I'll get there. There we go. Okay, if everyone's ready to continue. The second item of business is to review and consider approving the May 12th, 2022 minutes. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 12th, 2022 meeting?
I motion that we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
There is a motion by Commissioner Ladigan and a second by Vice Chair Perez. Let's see, Deputy City Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote. And commissioners, please turn on your microphones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vice Chair Perez,
Aye.
Commissioner Czar, or excuse me, Chair Czar.
I don't believe I attended that meeting. So
So if I could just interject as a moment as your deputy city clerk, you do not have to be in attendance at the meeting. Making a motion, or excuse me, supporting the minutes is faith in those individuals that participated in the meeting and acknowledging that. So you can choose to abstain, but you're certainly welcome to vote for the minutes as well.
I will abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Grambois? Approved. Commissioner Ladigan?
Approved.
Commissioner Atkinson? Approved. Commissioner Patano?
Approved.
And Commissioner McPherson?
Approved.
Thank you so much.
Motion passes and minutes are approved. Thank you. Now moving on to regular business, the last item. Nope, I'm skipping this part. Let's see, is this the regular business? Is the permit number correct and the Scrivener error in the title? If I can get a clarification, please.
So the permit number is DSR 21-012.
Great, okay. So the last item of regular business is file number DSR 21-012, permit type 4. The third item of business is a review and decision for DSR 21-012. Can I get a clarification on the title, please?
This would be the Shell Station remodel or renovation, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Planning Manager Ryan Harriman will provide a brief presentation of the project. And this is where I think I hand it off.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ryan Harriman, Planning Manager for the City of Mercer Island. It's a pleasure to be here in front of all of the commissioners this evening for my first formal design commission review here at the City of Mercer Island. And quite frankly, my first public meeting here at the City of Mercer Island. So this is a first for many, not just including myself, but we'll get through this very quickly. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so I can provide some slides for you. I assume that you can see the lovely slide with the city right here and the highway running right through it. Fantastic. So tonight you have a presentation in front of you for DSR 22-012. What this is the renovation or the remodel of the Shell Station located within the town center here in the City of Mercer Island. So the applicant applied for a design commission design review. The renovations for this proposal include 580 square feet of additional space to the existing store, the replacement of the fuel pumps and canopy, and the reconfiguration of the site parking. Along with this project, the fuel tanks will be replaced and associated site restorations will be part of this. New signs are proposed to be installed in the convenience store building and on the replacement canopy. There's also a freestanding sign that's currently on site or on the subject property that will be refaced and refurbished for use. The proposed development, as mentioned earlier, is designed to serve as an independent remedial action under the Model Toxics Control Act. And this will be a follow-up with the guidance as laid out in the State of Washington Pollution Liability Insurance Agency's opinion in a letter dated, I believe it's April 20th, 2020. And just for clarification's sake and purpose, you've seen in the staff report that was provided to you earlier that the proposed development does not meet the definition of major new construction, and most of the design elements contained within Chapter 19.11 of the Mercer Island City Code are just not applicable to the proposed development. So here's a timeline of things that have occurred so far. I didn't want to go back previously because this applicant actually applied for this on a different permit track and then subsequently withdrew the application and resubmitted. So what we have is the applicant submitted for the Design Commission review on October 6, 2021. The notice of application was issued January 24th with a 30-day comment period following. We received no public comments during the public comment period. As part of this project, a SEPA mitigated determination of non-significance was issued by the city, and that took place on September 27th, 2021. The notice of public hearing was issued on October 3rd, 2022. And of course, tonight you're having your public hearing, or you had your public hearing. The next slide is the proposed site plan for the Shell Station renovation. You'll see a kind of a blob area to the to the upper right-hand portion of the screen, that is the extent of the flume that was identified in the previous report. As part of this project, what will happen is a remedial action where the site will be cleaned up and potential contaminants will be removed from the site. And then monitoring wells will be installed at the perimeter of the site, which will monitor any additional toxics that needs to be cleaned up, potentially within the right of way. And there's certainly ways of doing that with treatment and different protocols for toxics cleanup. So that's currently as part of this proposal, but a permit cannot be issued until design commission approval is received. And so we're leaning for that tonight, hopefully, if the design commission decides that that's the route they would like to go. So as you see part of this in the white here, you'll see where the existing building is, and behind that is the addition that they are proposing. There is a compression units that are going to be ground mounted on the rear side of the store, and there will be a new 6-foot cedar fence with gate concealing that area. As part of the proposal, they are planning to install electronic charging stations for electric vehicles. There are several on site, and you should be able to see those in a better slide here soon. There's also provisions for pedestrian access and walkability. The site just is so small to really flip it around and change everything based on the current levels of the cleanup. And so we're really stuck with this layout based on the fact that it doesn't meet a lot of the standards or requirements of Chapter 19.11 of the Mercer Island City Code. The next page or slide you'll see here is the proposed planting plan. This was actually enhanced from your last time seeing this. There were a few more trees added, and they went through and made sure to designate the stamped pedestrian pathway, kind of the transition between the multimodal transition, if you would, before pedestrian to automobile. So there's definitely some type of breakup there. There's an interesting situation on the placement of the accessibility parking spaces to the proposed convenience store, and that's due to the placement or the addition of electronic charging stations. So you have to have the electronic charging stations so far away from your fuel pumps. So that is being currently worked on under the building permit and site development process. So that may change a little bit as we formulate that a little bit more in the next phase of the review process. Now for some visuals that probably most of you recognize. This is the current proposal as provided by the applicant. So when the applicant met with the design commission to do a consultation or just the preview of this project, the design commission asked for a number of items, or they made a number of recommendations to which the applicant heard and they took back and they have incorporated into the design. And so you'll see that documentation is provided in one of the exhibits in the staff report. I believe it's exhibit 9, where the applicant went through the design commission's recommendations step by step and included those into the plan provisions and modifications to the design. You'll see that there is a weather awning over the top of the front entrance. They provided stone covering over the column wrap by the gas stations that was requested. There was also signage that was discussed based on the number of sides. There was different varieties of wainscoting and patterns of brick to be used on the building, which if you look into the exhibits, I believe it's exhibit 10 in the staff report, there are some visuals of the actual materials provided by the applicant. The commission also wanted to see an interior layout of the proposed convenience store. On the left-hand side, you'll see the layout as proposed. The addition to the building, as you see on the upper portion here, is mainly for the cooler area and for storage. So that literally is the addition to the building. Above that, where the title of interior layout is, would be the south side of the property, and that would house the compression units out back that are going to be screened. On the other slide here, or on the other side of the slide we're looking at, is the freestanding sign. On the far right, you'll see how it looks currently. The middle is the proposed change, and the far left is how it will be illuminated at nighttime. So it's not going to show the white glare at nighttime. It's going to be reduced on that. So the next slide you see in front of you is based on the electronic charging stations and the signage and requirements that Shell has for their electronic charging stations. And they provided their signage and directional signage for that on site. With the way the technology is coming along, it was important for a few commissioners to make sure that electronic charging stations were addressed as part of this proposal, and the applicant has gone ahead and made sure that that was readily available for folks here on the island to be able to come into a current gasoline service station and actually charge an electronic vehicle. So I thought that was kind of remarkable. So the staff provided a lengthy staff report. I believe it was 30 pages of findings and conclusions and recommended conditions of approval. Based on the information in the staff report, staff recommends the Design Commission adopt the staff findings and conclusions that are provided in the staff report, and approve the proposed development subject to the recommended conditions of approval that were also provided in the staff report. Does anybody have any questions for me at this time?
I think Ryan, sorry, Tracy, would you like to go ahead?
Go ahead, I'll go after.
Yeah, my only question, I think you've answered it, was the 2 electric vehicle charging stations. So that's not part of city code. It's not what Shell was proposing, but it's something that they've agreed to do because of this design commission.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that is impressive. Thanks.
Ryan, I was hoping that you could go through how the required parking stalls were calculated. Exactly.
Let me see if I could pull that portion of the staff report up.
I didn't see it in the staff report.
You haven't seen the staff report?
I didn't. I might have missed it, but I didn't see it.
Oh, it's lovely. It's 30 pages. Oh, let's see if I can find it here real quick. So basically what happens on a parking plan is you take a look at the size of the proposed development, and you take a look at the calculations provided in the table, and you come up with your allotted amount. So what they did was they met that allotted amount, and then they took some of the charging stations, and they're basically double dipping the parking stalls with the charging stations to come up with the amount that they came up with. And that also includes their space for accessible vehicle or accessible accommodations on that.
Right.
So
I understand that.
I don't have the math in front of me right now, Commissioner.
Can you get that to me, please? Not by tonight, but can you give that to me in the next week or so?
Oh, we certainly can take a look at that.
Great, thank you.
So as a follow-up to that, and just for clarification, the charging stations weren't at the expense of the accessible stalls, correct?
Correct, they're not.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. And welcome, by the way.
Thank you. I was going to go into an introduction, but I just decided to dive right in.
Well, maybe we can get that at the end of this meeting.
Fantastic.
Right. Just again, for a point of clarification, if I'm sorry, I kind of jumped in, maybe I can raise my hand, follow the protocol.
Commissioner Perez.
Thank you. So just so I understand, again, not in any way double dipping the parking with the accessible, but just so that I'm really clear, they are taking the number of parking spaces that are required for this particular site. 2 of those that are required are part of the EV charging spaces. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, just want to make sure that that's clear. And those are those are accessible at any time for those that need it for the electronic charging. And I imagine that there's probably a limit associated with the electric charging. Did they mention that in the report in terms of if there's a 2-hour limit or if there's a specific limit? I just want to head that off.
I don't believe
So
that's
sure.
gone. I don't believe that has gone to that depth yet,
Okay.
Commissioner. The applicant, Mr. Radish, is on the call. He is
Okay,
in the
great.
attendance list. He may be able to answer the question related to parking specifically, and may be able to provide some additional information on just how the charging stations will work.
Okay, great. I do want to go on the public record as a huge advocate for electronic vehicles, and just want to make sure that the city of Mercer Island, with a number of public initiatives, is doing what we can in order to support electronic vehicles. So I certainly appreciate that from the owner. If the owner would like to speak, I'd certainly invite that also. Maybe nothing specific in terms of questions that I have, but if there's anything that he'd like to present or he or she would like to present.
And would it be okay if Planning Manager Harriman, if you wouldn't mind just pulling up the site plan once more as we're talking through some of these parking questions?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume you can all see that, maybe not.
Can't see it yet.
Well, let's fix that.
Thank you.
So with the parking provided, the designation is actually provided here on the site plan. The required 4 stalls, 2 to 3 per 1,000 square feet, city code, and then the parking provided 14 stalls, which include 8 pump island stalls, 1 van accessible stall, 3 standard stalls, and 2 electric vehicle charging stations.
I don't have any questions about parking, but one observation, whenever you're at QFC, looking towards the service station, it's sometimes not the best view. So hopefully that planting that you've designated between QFC and the gas station will get a little higher to obscure the back end of that building. And sometimes I've noticed, car detailing always seems to be going on there over the years, what have you. I don't know if the plan is for something low, medium, or to obscure the back end of the building. Just a thought.
So I think it may be more appropriate to have the applicant speak to some of those questions. But as you see here on the landscaping or planting plan, they are providing planting or landscaping along that side, which would be the western side of the property, which there's very limited area over on that side for planting. But they were able to provide some type of landscape screen along that area.
Yeah, it's great to see.
And Commissioner Lanigan, I just want to make, again, I'm sorry, jumping the line here. Sorry.
Let's go with Commissioner Atkinson, just because it's in line with who I saw raise hand first. Thank you for your patience, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I can help out if Ryan, I don't know if you can zoom in and we could look at the plant list. I read through it last night, but wasn't particularly focused on that western side. If you could read, it's still really small on my screen, sorry, but if you could read to me what those plants are along that edge, we could get an idea of the height.
So you're looking at a spire cherry tree. Looks like there's 2 of those. There is a few rhododendrons. 6 of those. You have some boxwood, some viburnum, and sword fern. Which sword fern are fairly low, but the height on the other one I mentioned is about 6 feet.
Yeah, it looks like you have a range of low, which is the boxwood, the medium, which is the viburnum, and the rhododendron, and then the taller is the cherry. But there's not doesn't sound like there's a plan for a full screen there. But I reviewed this last night, and I do like the plants that have been spec'd, but I will say to your question, it doesn't look like it's a full hedge screen.
I'm also noticing a new 6-foot cedar fence. I think that solves the problem. I couldn't see it earlier.
The 6-foot cedar fence is to conceal the area for loading and unloading for the store and for the area behind it where the compression systems are located.
Right, and honestly, it's just the back of the building that sometimes doesn't look too good in its current form. So I think the problem's solved with the design as it is.
Commissioner McPherson.
Yeah, I'm looking at the MICC code for parking, and what the calculation seems to say is that retail stalls per gross fee is 2 to 3, and restaurant, deli, bakery food is 8 to 11 in the version I'm looking at. So that might be earlier version. So I guess what this doesn't qualify as a restaurant, deli, bakery food. It qualifies as general retail, if that's what we're okay.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be within the required parking
because they're general retail, because they wouldn't be if they were restaurant, deli, bakery food. Okay.
And remember too that the addition that they're adding to this is specifically for the coolers and storage. So I mean, it's not like they're having an extra restaurant partition inside or anything like that. This is specifically for the coolers.
Perfect. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Perez, did you want to jump in now and then move to Commissioner Granbois?
The only point that I wanted to make was just to make sure that the 6-foot fence was noted, and that that was, from my point of view, able to screen and create an attractive barrier to the back of the building, and what tends to be a lot of tires and such that I've also noticed back there over the years. I think that'll take care of that to some degree, and then also screen off the ground mounted compressors. So just wanted to make sure that was clearly noted. Just so that I understand, the cedar fence against the adjacent buildings, I don't see a notation that talks about the crosshatch line. Ryan, if you're looking at the down on the south end of this site plan, below the EV chargers, there's a crosshatch line. Exactly. Is that just simply a curb?
That is a good question.
I didn't see a
Not-
notation on it. I can see
Don't
this.
see one either.
Yeah.
Trying to look around to see if there's another one on maybe another sheet. But I zoomed in so far that I don't know if I lost my controls.
Okay.
That's an existing concrete retaining wall that's located right here. And these are buildings.
Yep.
As shown on the site plan.
I don't recall the concrete retaining wall, but it wasn't looking for that. I didn't see that noted on the elevations either. So just, do we know how high that is?
I do not know how high that is.
Okay.
Vice Chair Perez, I believe that the applicant is on the line and he can answer any questions that you have on their application as it relates to something like that.
Okay.
If seem be.
Yeah, I'd just like to know how high that is. Just how the cedar fence connects to that concrete wall, please. If the applicant will be so kind, or has that information.
Was a site survey included? It's a background to this site plan, but is the original survey part of the submittal? There might be a top of wall measurement.
That's just something I don't have readily available here at this time, Chair. I could pull something up and see what we can find here for you.
Sounds
But
good as we,
Perhaps
we-
the
yeah.
applicant would like to speak to that.
are we assured the applicant has the ability to participate? Can we give the applicant a minute?
Chair, I can promote the applicant to participate. If you'll just give me one moment, please.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, it looks like they are joining as a panelist here shortly and should be able to speak.
It's Mr. Matthew Randish. I see has joined. You're muted if you're speaking.
I've requested that he unmute himself.
Okay. Good evening. Thanks. This is Matt Randish here. Thanks for the time to speak. I just want to, I'll clear up a few things, maybe a little bit to get everybody a little bit of a vision. First, I'm the applicant. I am the wholesale division manager for Sun Pacific Energy. There's a couple large Shell distribution jobbers in this state. One's Jackson Oil, as you know, you have a Jackson Food Mart up the street. I just need to explain who I am a little bit so we can get a better snapshot. And there's Sun Pacific Energy. Back when Shell got out of the direct delivery of fuel in this market, these two companies, the company I work for and Jackson's, bought the clusters from Shell. So anyway, that's who I work for. We have 104 Shell stations. This is one of our dealer sites that we are purchasing. I'm the applicant. I don't own the company. I'm one of their top senior managers, obviously. And this project was given to me as one of my many that I have. I live over in Kitsap County. And just about every Shell station you see in Seattle is our distribution network and you know, the I-5 corridor. So saying that, that's who I am and who I work for. The last commission group that we dealt with, I guess it's been a couple years now. This has been a long project. They asked for pictures of our company operated stores that we build. So we have quite a few in Eastern Washington and, you know, with car wash, and I supplied all that information. I don't know if you still have that available to you. And so to get to know who we are, the owner of our company is involved in the industry. I can go on and on. He's chairman of the board for Columbia National Bank. He's a very prominent figure, and the petroleum industry too, besides the bank board member. So that's who we are, and that's who I am. So this is a big project for me with them, and we're determined to get it done. We got chicken a couple times because it you know, it's been 3.5 years. It's been really, you know, then COVID hit. It's been a tough go, and it's pretty extensive. We really want to get this site cleaned up. It's the owners have teetered a couple times on this, like, you know, this is getting to be, you know, and it's a lot of, you know, it's not going to be an inexpensive product. The insurance on the site is not going to cover the cost of us going in. We have obviously we have the capital to get the rest done, but it's not going to be an inexpensive project. George, the guy that owns the store now, great family. I mean, we're trying to buy it from him as long as we can get a permit. So that's the story.
Thank you, Mr. Andish. Appreciate the background. That's very helpful to hear the motivation behind the project. Would you have insights on a few of the design related questions that have come up?
Yeah, so let me clear the air on the back of the store a little bit. I mean, as much as I know, first off, the EV chargers are 180 kilowatts. They're the top, you know, Shell has gone, you know, merged with, anyway, Shell has an EV division now. This will be one of their first stores in this area. A couple of our company stores have it, but our company stores have 60 and 80 kilowatt EV stations, and boom, this one's going to get 180. So the charge, nobody will be parked there for a long period of time. Unless they want to shop in the store afterwards or during or whatever, or go to the QFC and do their shopping or whatever they want to do. That's their will, but it would probably be about a 15-minute charge. And there'll be card readers out there for, you know, it's a total convenience thing. The store doesn't make any money on it. We don't. All the credit card network goes to the Shell network. And Shell is willing to put these in specifically for this site. So behind the store is I heard tires and, right now it's a car repair shop. It's been that way for 40 years. And so the tires and all that stuff, that's a thing of the past. I mean, you're not going to get that anymore because it's going to be turned into a convenience store. And you can tell by looking at it, it'll be a lot like the Jackson store in a lot of ways. The site isn't that big, but so you're not going to see tires and cars and people getting ready to get an oil change and all that. That's history. All that part is history. So try to vision that way instead of to know what we're doing. Yeah, after you get the condensing units back there and build the fence, there's probably not much room left except the landscape buffer. When you mention that existing concrete retaining wall to remain, I know there is one there. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I've really never studied it that much. I know it's there. I knew it was staying there. And now this week I'm going to go back to the store and is the fence bordered on that? I'm going to be really honest with you. Like, I don't know. I know the fence goes behind the store and buffers a high fence. So it's a sound barrier for the condensing units that run the refrigeration and the heat pumps that would, heat the store. Well, we'll probably put those back there instead of on the roof. It'd be a six foot high, and it's a sound barrier too. It's a commercial area, so there isn't really. There's another building on the other side. I think it's a dentist office that it won't interfere with. So is there any other questions that you wanted me to tackle here for you guys the main goal here is we had a couple of our customers that were going to buy this, and we took the project over, and we will company operate this store is the plan. We'll probably we have company operated stores throughout the state, and they're called Sun Markets, and there's not a lot on the west side, but we have quite a few on the east side of the mountains. So our plan at this time is to do that. So it's we run a class act and do a pretty good job with it.
Thank you, Mr. Endish.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that. And appreciate you standing by for any additional questions. I'll throw it back to Vice Chair Perez and then ask Commissioner Granbois for her question. She had her hand raised earlier. And then Commissioner McPherson.
Mr. Randish, thank you very much for your input. Yeah, the question kind of remains, and I think we can handle this as a condition of approval. I think it's a fairly minor issue. I just want to make sure that there's both a visual barrier, a continuous visual barrier, and an acoustical barrier, as you mentioned, to the area behind in the back of house in that yard. There's an exposed area, a public area visible from the sidewalk. And I think just a continuation of the cedar fence would be a simple way of adjusting that if that wall is not to the 6 foot height, which I don't believe it is or hadn't noticed it before. Thank you very much. I think I have what I need. Thank you very much, Chair.
Commissioner Granbois.
I'm taking my hand down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McPherson.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify right now that retaining wall, I believe, is covered by an ivy hedge right now between the dentist's office and the back of the existing machinist's area. So probably the reason why no one thinks of it is because it doesn't look like a concrete wall. It's a ivy covered hedge between the two properties. So I think if that's staying there, it blends in exactly as it is intended to at the moment. So just quick clarification.
Commissioners, are there any other questions? Specifically for Mr. Randish. Thank you for joining, Mr. Randish. Appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
So, do we have enough information to make a motion, or do we want to open this up for further discussion? Are you? Wasn't sure if you were raising your hand, Commissioner McPherson.
I think I've heard enough. It seems like this has been studied, it's vetted, there's a recommendation to approve. I like all the additions to the exterior of the building, the stonework. I think those are nice additions. Not having super bright lights at night, that's a nice touch. The signage package looks well thought out. You know, for me, it's an easy study, so.
So may I have a motion to adopt the staff findings and conclusions contained within this staff report?
Yes, I would motion that.
An alternative option is to approve the proposed development subject to the recommended conditions of approval contained in the staff report.
Can we review those, please? And maybe Ryan, you can help us with that in terms of the conditions of approval.
Planning manager, I believe you're muted.
Yes, I will pull that staff report up so we can go through
Thank you.
the conditions of approval as proposed. Let me scroll and find them.
Ryan, I have the staff report that was included in the agenda. Do you want me to bring that up, or is it an alternate one? Oh, you have it. Thank you.
I found it. So here's a list of the recommended conditions. There's 7 conditions that staff has recommended. The first one is that they have to comply with Mercer Island City Code and Mercer Island Comprehensive Plan and all the applicable codes, policies, and otherwise approvals from the city. The second one is that they have to, we are recommending that the proposed development shall be substantial conformance with the detailed information submitted by the application, specifically in Exhibit 3 that was provided with the staff report. Exhibit 3 is basically the plan set and a lot of the documentation that you've seen this evening. Number 3 is the applicant shall ensure the mitigation conditions as outlined in the MD&S are fulfilled as part of this. The next is the building permit is required to be approved and go through final review on within 3 years. They have to have a building permit from the day of the notice and 2 years from the decision on appeal of final design review decision. Otherwise, the design commission approval expires. So the other one is landscaping, talking about the requirements that they're supposed to have the ground cover in place and prior to issuance, that being good condition and moving forward. Irrigation and all state and federal and local permits are required to be obtained.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Perez, did you want to add an additional condition based on that retaining wall? Or recommend some language around that?
Yes, thank you. That would be an addition I'd like the commission to consider. Just want to make sure that we have a continuous visual barrier between the 6-foot site provided or client provided, applicant provided 6-foot cedar fence to the northeast corner of the adjacent building, which is on the south end of the property, just to make sure we have a continuous visual barrier at that point. I think it'd be a very minor addition and may already be in compliance with that, or maybe in compliance with the intent or the request of that, based on the existing conditions. So my recommendation would be continuous visual barrier between the existing cedar fence or the proposed cedar fence and the adjacent building to the south.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Deputy City Clerk.
Madam Chair, I'd like to point out there is a motion on the floor. We don't have a second. But before we start considering maybe amendments or debate.
I appreciate
on this.
that. I was going to ask for a little procedural clarification on that, so thank you. Is there a second?
So Commissioner Latican made a
Yeah.
motion to adopt the staff findings and conclusions contained within the staff report and approve the proposed development subject to the recommended conditions of approval. Also contained in that staff report is my recollection.
Yeah, I'd like to walk back that recommendation. I agree with Vice Chair Perez entirely. I think that's a good addition to these conditions of approval. I would motion to second Vice Chair Perez's recommendation for a continuous visual barrier, as he stated, all the way around the back of house.
So procedurally, if I could get a little clarification, Deputy City Clerk, do we need to make the motion and then add the condition? Or can we move to make the approval with the condition in one fell swoop?
Okay, so I'm gonna break this up into two parts.
Thank you.
I would recommend that if the desire is to make the original motion with these added pieces to it, go ahead and do that. You didn't have a second, so you're okay to do that. If the second option would be to simply make the motion, get a second, and then you can make amendments to that motion. From a clerk perspective, I prefer cleanliness. So if we can keep it all together, that helps, but I'll ask for a little bit of wordsmithing from Vice Chair Perez so that I capture the motion correctly. Does that make sense?
Should I read the request to make the motion initially?
Yeah, the original recommendation. If Perez wants to go, if Vice Chair Perez wants to go with the original recommendation and then make some additions to that, that would be fine.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So I move to do the staff recommended conditions of approval with one additional consideration, one additional recommended condition, which would be condition number 8, that the applicant provides a continuous visual barrier in line with the proposed 6-foot cedar fence, and makes that a continuous visual barrier. And again, maybe I can wordsmith this. Let me state that again.
Yeah, and you might need to just, if you could slow it down just a little bit for the typist, that would be wonderful.
Of course, I'm sorry.
No, you're quite all right.
I know when excuse me, Vice Chair, I know when we've done this in chambers, we've had visual aid of someone scripting it out in front of us so that we can wordsmith it. Just so planning manager is aware, we see your chat.
I'm not sure who is, yeah. So I can certainly share my minutes and we can wordsmith this motion if that makes sense.
I think that's helpful.
Okay, so Ryan, if you'd like to stop sharing at the moment, I will bring up my minutes and then we can capture this and wordsmith it. One moment, I'm a little bit more comfortable with sharing my screen when I am in Zoom. So one moment, please.
We see your screen. Thank you.
Which one are you looking at? Are you looking at the recommendation or my minutes with the yellow on it?
Your minutes with the yellow.
Fantastic. We're all on the same page. Okay. I'm broadening this right now. Commissioner Latigan initially made a motion, but I think she walked that back, and it sounds like Vice Chair Perez is making the motion. And the motion would be Vice Chair Perez.
Adopt the staff findings and conclusions contained within the staff report and approve the proposed development subject to the recommended conditions of approval also contained in the staff. Well, let's see. I think we want to adopt that. Adopt the staff findings and conclusions contained within the staff report and approve, full stop.
Okay, hold on.
With one additional condition.
Okay,
Number 8 is that the applicant provides a continuous visual barrier in line with the proposed cedar fence to be to the adjacent southern neighbor, or the adjacent southern building.
Property line.
Well, the southern building. So they have, there's a cedar fence, an undetermined height with an existing concrete wall. There looks like there's about, I'm going to estimate somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 feet. And I'm just talking out loud. Perhaps there's others that can wordsmith this, but it's somehow making sure, and again, that condition may exist right now, but creating a continuous visual barrier to the adjacent building so that we have a continuous visual barrier.
is there a second for that?
I might just wordsmith it a little because I'm not sure
Thank
the
you.
adjacent neighbor would want a wall attaching. So maybe just
So what I would recommend at this
Yeah.
point, I mean, from procedurally, is that we get a motion and a second on the floor.
mhm,
And then if you want to amend the language farther, we can.
sure.
But procedurally, we should have a motion and a second before we debate the motion.
Is
Mhm.
there a second?
I second the motion.
That was
Thank you,
Atkinson.
Commissioner Atkinson.
Okay. So this is how I have the motion stated right now. If there's a desire to amend that motion to read differently, we can do that. And somebody would need to make a motion, a second to amend the original motion.
Yeah, I'd motion to amend slightly. I think the language be just along the southern border and not obligating one owner to attach a fence to another owner's property, just to, I think that's a cleaner way to do it.
So you want to change building to owner?
No, to the adjacent, to the southern border property line.
Okay,
Yeah. Well, we can't ask one owner to attach a fence to another owner's building, really.
order.
Yeah. Or property line, yeah, they just need to look at the detail.
Is there a second to that motion to amend?
I second that motion.
Was that Mr. or Vice Chair Perez?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Madam Chair, are there any questions regarding the amendment at this point?
No, but I'm happy to read it out loud and then request that a roll call vote be taken. The motion by Vice Chair Perez, seconded by Atkinson, and amended by Commissioner Latigan, seconded by Vice Chair Perez, is adopt the staff findings and conclusions contained within this staff report and approve the proposed development subject to the recommended conditions of approval also contained in this staff report, and approve with one additional condition. Number 8 is that the applicant provide a continuous visual barrier in line with the proposed cedar fence to the adjacent southern border. Deputy City Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote. Commissioners, please turn on your microphones.
So I'm gonna try not to confuse anybody further. But we need to make a motion on the amendment or take a vote on the amendment first, or Commissioners Latigan and Perez can choose to withdraw the amendment and accept the changes to the original motion. I think the simplest for all of you, because I'm probably confusing the situation right now, and I recognize that, is to vote on the smaller amendment right now. So there's a motion by Latigan and a second by Perez to change the word building to border. And we would vote on that first.
Let's do it.
Okay. Commissioner Atkinson,
Aye, approved.
thank you. Commissioner Grambois,
I approve.
Commissioner Latigan,
Approved.
Commissioner McPherson,
Approved.
Commissioner Patano,
Approved.
Commissioner Perez,
Approved.
and Chair Czar.
Approved.
Okay, and then going back to the main motion, for a vote on that. The main motion with the amendment with border instead of building. Commissioner Atkinson,
Approved.
Commissioner Grambois,
Approved.
Commissioner Latigan,
Approved.
Commissioner McPherson,
Approved.
Commissioner Patano,
Approved.
Commissioner Perez,
Approved.
and Commissioner Czar.
Approved.
Motion approved as amended. And I will stop sharing my screen to not complicate the situation any further.
Thank you, Deputy City Clerk. That brings us to other business. I welcome Planning Manager Ryan Harriman for a director's report.
Thank you, Chair Czar. I just wanted to make a point of clarification really quick. What I will do the next day is take the items that were mentioned this evening and turn them into a decision document that shows that the commission has approved the findings and conclusions and the conditions of approval with the additional condition for your approval, Chair, and signature for we can move forward with the noticing process for approval. So thank you once again for taking action on this evening. My name is Ryan Harriman. I am the planning manager here at the City of Mercer Island. I've been a planner in this line of work now for, oh gosh, almost 20 years. And I've been a director, I've been a planning manager, I've been a senior planner. I've had a lot of different hats and worked in a lot of different jurisdictions. And I'm very happy to be here at the City of Mercer Island and working with the wonderful staff that we have. So a little bit of background from me. I have a master's degree from the University of Washington in public administration and a bachelor's degree in political science and public policy from Central Washington University. So thank you. Appreciate it. There's nothing really to report from the planning manager's report this evening. Next time I'll have something more to provide you.
So happy to have you aboard. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Let's see, announcements and communications. Does anyone have anything to report? I will add that the next scheduled meeting, if needed, is December 7th of 2022. Commissioner McPherson.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Does planning manager or deputy city clerk have any insight as to if that meeting will take place or be canceled or TBD?
At this moment, based on the requirements for noticing of any public hearings, I believe it's going to be canceled, but let's list it as TBD for the moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
To add to Commissioner McPherson's question, do you foresee what is coming in the new year? Can we get a sneak peek on what's on the horizon?
Yeah, there's a few applications that are in right now for administrative design review. So unfortunately, they don't come before this body for approval, but I have a feeling that there are going to be several other options or other projects that come on board here fairly soon that will be coming towards this body for review. And we will be scheduling the consultation or the preliminary design commission meeting with you folks once that application is actually received by the city. But there isn't really anything public yet, so we'll just wait until that time comes.
Thank you. Any other announcements or communications by the commissioners? Or any other attendees? There being no other business to come before the Design Commission, the time is now 7:16 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. However, as a reminder to the commissioners, please stay seated until the city staff has terminated the Zoom broadcast, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Chair Czar.
Thank you, Vice Chair Perez.